So what we have here is a Hazy IPA sent to me by Dan, who is in Florida, I believe. Acadiana, I think, is what we saw as the title. I don't know what that means. Let's get an initial aroma. Definitely getting some hop aroma, and we had better because this thing was dry hopped with a pound of hops. 8 ounces of Mosaic for 8 days, 8 ounces of Simcoe. Those are high alpha acid hops, 5 days on the Simcoe, and then 4 ounces of Citra for a hop stand. It looks like no bittering hops at all. I wonder if he's got an IBU thing in here. Well, it does say 0, but I'm sure that there are some bitterness units. If I gotta get past this foam. I notice it has a haziness, but it also has a slightly darker hue than a lot of the freshest, most oxygen-free packaged hazies, which we've talked about before. It definitely has that flavor that you want. A little bit of bitterness, but mostly just hop flavor, so you don't get as many bittering units from not boiling hops, of course. This beer has, well, it was 1065 to 1012. It has a decent amount of oats. He's got 2.5 pounds of flaked oats and then half pound of golden naked oats. Otherwise, a pound of dextrin, 10.5 pounds of two-row. So, and then London ale. So, man, let's see if I can get this Mosaic. You know, I think I could definitely get hop aroma and flavor. As to whether or not I can specifically pick out what I know of as Mosaic hops, I'm not sure. Or the Simcoe. Both of those I'm a little bit familiar with. It's definitely a nice drinking beer. I think the thing that's interesting with these hazies is when you see it being a little of the browner, off kind of color, you tend to think, oh, what's wrong with it? But to not have it be that color, you have to somehow apparently do this CO2 pushed, careful transfer and packaging. You have to really be extra careful. I got the exact same result as this. We drank one from Chip, and I drank one from Nick, who he sent us a picture of the beer earlier in its life, and it was just this light milky yellowy kind of thing, and then when we got it, it was browner. So just a little bit of time will change that. But, and this was the same with Nick's, this one tastes really nice and smells nice. There's a little bit of that juicy character that you want. I think everything is pretty much there. You know, I'm not sure if how much different it would be if you cut down on the pound of dry hops. It's a lot of dry hops. That's very expensive, of course. I don't know if you would need that much to get a similar result. People could debate that, I guess, or if it was different. I don't know if the whole thing was bottled or if some of it was kegged. It does say bottled June 6th and it is July 12th. So if he did bottle condition it, which, let's see, yeah, I bet he did. I bet it's bottle conditioned, which is good for preserving the life of it a little bit, because the yeast would consume a little bit of the oxygen. But I don't know, maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ago, if it was carbonated at that time, maybe it would have been a little bit sprightly, fresher, possibly. But Dan, this is a nice tasting beer. Thanks for sending it. I have an Imperial Stout, which I might save for another day, but I thought I would come outside while it was hot and sit in the shade and try this one. Nice result. So now we have the second beer from Dan. It is a very big Imperial Stout. Aphotic zone Imperial Stout. I don't know what that means. Might be a science thing. Looks like it was supposed to be 14%. His is 11%. 1108 to 1024. And it uses a bunch of raw two-row, but also it uses, looks like a pretty significant amount of dry malt extract. So that's kind of interesting. It's a combination recipe. There's quite a bit of black malt, roasted barley. I mean, there's total combined 2.5 pounds of those two malts. So that's quite a bit of that type of malt. Some flake barley, some chocolate, a little bit of Cara Munich. He's got that he used 2 yeast starters of Safale 05, which I always hear about. You don't need to make a starter with the dry, and I don't know if it's harmful if you don't, or if it can be helpful, but it's just generally considered not necessary. However, with an 1108 beer, maybe it is, or it can be helpful. It was 4 ounces of Centennial for boiling, so a lot of hops. And what does it taste like? I am struck by the amount of, it's a interesting combination of, there's quite a bit of residual sugar from it being 1024 and just being such a big beer, and also the 11% alcohol. However, there is also a decent amount of bitterness, and that comes from the, probably the hops, all that Centennial, but also all of those roasted grains. You're gonna get, and I think you want, some bitterness from the highly roasted malts in a beer like this. No off flavors at this point. Chocolate, like the high cacao chocolate. I guess you get your coffee flavors. It tastes cleanly fermented, well made. It's a big beer. There's maybe, it's not a boozy beer. I thought maybe you could get a little smell of alcohol, but that wouldn't be unexpected. And it was only bottled 2.5 months ago. So I don't know when it was brewed, but actually it looks like he's had it fermenting for like 19 days. So then I don't know if he conditioned it a little bit more or sort of packaged it somewhat soon after that, but I bet this beer isn't much more than like 3 months old or so. 3.5, 4 months old. So pretty young, and if it's all bottle conditioned, which I think it is, then it could easily be around for some time, and I'm sure he looks forward to trying them over time. Oh, I was going to mention, I'll include it in this little video, but he wrote to me and he said, if you have not drank the Hazy IPA, just dump it. So he had it around the same time that I was having it, the one that you saw, and he said, oh, it's just nowhere near what it was. He sent me a picture, and it's pretty common. We've talked about this. It was much more pale and straw, hazy, orangey, like it's supposed to be. And he said it did taste and smell quite a bit better. So I'll just leave that in there because we can all learn from that that's what can happen. And there may be methods to employ that make that not happen as much, even on the homebrew level. But that can happen. And I don't think it happened to me when I made my one attempt a few years ago. So it was a well-made beer. It just suffers from that development. Maybe it has to do with how the hops are used in the process. But anyway, Dan, thank you so much. It's been fun to try these beers. And your Imperial Stout, maybe I will label it. It's not labeled. Maybe I'll write on the cap what it is and save it maybe for some time. Get to it later. As usual, thanks for watching, and catch you later.